first order of business is, after we get the attendance, which I trust you will do after, is the appropriation ordinance 1207. And there was one item that stands out a little bit, and where is that for some work?
Eubanks.
Yeah, it's a 3,000. No, 2992. That was some.
So we have a sewer easement that goes through someone's driveway, and it was collapsing on either end. So it's 15 feet wide, so many feet long. They got a concrete estimate to redo their driveway and inside their garage. Bob just took the square foot cost and applied it to our easement. So if you go a house around that same cul-de-sac, Birchwood Court, we have a water valve in another guy's driveway.
Yeah.
And that was replaced, or the concrete was repaired on that a few years ago, if I remember correctly. So.
Any other questions or concerns?
You don't think I need to abstain?
For being paid for,
Yeah.
I don't think so, but you know, that's a personal thing. It won't, there's enough to carry it without you.
Yeah, there's enough to carry.
It just complicates the minutes. No, I'm kidding.
No, definitely.
What did you do, Gerard?
I am fired.
You know,
I am fired. So I get paid twice. I'm
Then we'll have one abstention. Do I have a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 1207 as presented?
That's the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention, so 4 ayes, 1. Proposed minutes from the last meeting, which I did not attend, but it looks like you did a pretty good job finishing, what was it, 7:53? That gives us a target.
I tried.
56.
Yeah. Looks okay to me.
No issues.
Okay. So those are
Okay.
approved. And now, agenda. We have anything to add to the agenda?
Nope.
No.
I have it.
So we'll move on to agenda item 5, golf course. I think that's you, Gerard.
Well, yeah, I guess it's still me. So we got the kind of the sample
He had a,
contract.
it looked like it was for 15 years but some of the stuff was like using that city of Florida's employees. Do you think that we should go through that contract and say is that not going to work for the city and then come up with a bullet point?
I think, yeah, it's kind of, when I was looking at it, I was thought, okay, some of the stuff in there was like, yeah, I think this is kind of the direction we want to go. This is definitely not the direction we want to go. And then this is definitely the so some of them I think, yeah, let's absolutely, if we're going to pursue this in that manner, then let's go with some of those points in that contract. Some make no sense for us because, but I think we need to go figure out what we need to do, be it the sprinkler system, the fairways, the greens, the tees, cart paths and clubhouse, and then start figuring out numbers while also starting negotiations with Rick.
Yeah, I think you need to take him. He'd invited someone up to meet with him, or whatever. But I think you need to know what you want to have in a contract. I'd say bullet points to see if he'll go for it. Even, I mean, I would assume the city doesn't want to own the mowers. I would assume we want to use their employees and all that sort of stuff. And that's not what was in there as far as and that was just a sample. And I appreciated the sample, but ultimately, you get the structure the way it's going to work here.
When he and I were talking, one thing he did say was like, the greenskeeper, if we go and get into an agreement with them, the greenskeeper they're going to bring in. That's somebody they're going to bring in. Maybe he said everything else he'd love to hire people locally, be it the manager for the clubhouse, wait staff for the top tracer, summer help, people, you know, just everything he would love to hire locally. There may be some training involved in that, you know, or maybe they might have to bring in a manager
But under their direction.
under their direction.
Yeah,
And
I think
they're
that's-
employees.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the key thing. I think, you know, I think we need to make it clear to him that, you know, we don't want, this is what I don't know, you all tell me if you think differently. We don't want the expense. We don't want health insurance. We don't want salaries. We don't want maintenance on equipment. We don't want water bills, electrical bills, nothing.
Interestingly enough, his health insurance premiums are very similar to that of the cities as far as employees. But it, you know, I just found that interesting.
Yeah.
So we can go through the contract, and if you go individually through the contract and send them to me, I can compile them into one. And then,
And should we, I guess my question, and then someone should probably meet with him, as he suggested.
Yes.
But should we have an opportunity as a group to look over those bullet points and make sure as a group, we say,
Absolutely.
this is what we want, and then we have the, so if.
but if
we
you send me all your ideas,
if we could
I'll do
commit
it.
to providing input individually to Maurice, then in the next meeting, we can get the
Sure.
no kidding, city approved list of things. And then someone could go view it.
And yeah, I mean, I have no reason to doubt the guy. I don't think, Maurice, you met him as well. I mean, he seems pretty genuine. You guys,
Sure.
everybody, well, you didn't get to meet him, did you? He seems like a real genuine guy. I don't think he, you know, he's not out, he wants to make money, obviously. I mean, he wouldn't be in the position that he's in if he didn't have that attitude.
And I would trust their estimates. I mean, I don't know how you estimate top tracer or whatever it is, but as far as everything else, I mean, it's what he does. They've been successful apparently from it. It looks like they've been successful.
Well, to me, this has to be fundamentally different from the way it was run before,
Absolutely.
because otherwise we're just, this is silly. So
Correct.
that would be my focus.
Yeah, no, Matt, I think you nailed that 100%. And, you know, not that the poll I did is scientific, it's basically word of mouth, but I've tried to talk to as many people that'll listen to me just out in the public about this, and I've come across a couple that, you know, a couple people that say absolutely no golf course, don't need it, no use for it. A couple people that say, yeah, golf course, but the city, that's the only way I would ever support it is if the city ran it. If it was run like the old days, you know, like the city ran it. But the vast majority of the people that I've spoken to are kind of right there in that middle area. They're saying, oh man, if we could do this and have a golf course and have it run by somebody, a company like Great Life, they're all for it.
All right, so we okay with that plan? Try to everyone look at the template and make recommendations about.
Is it possible, and again, if you all agree, and I don't know if we could do this, Maurice, but I know like Chief Sid has put out questionnaires and
Oh, do a survey?
do a survey, and I don't know if we need to on this, if anybody's even interested in it. I myself would be, if, I don't know what kind of response we would get back from people, but a survey as to what
I
they,
think that's a good idea, but how about if we wait until we have a clearer idea of
Yeah.
what we're proposing?
yeah, no, that is, you're right. That is-
Another idea would be to have a survey, but have the rec department not do it, come up with ideas, because would it be a good chance to ask other questions? Or do you want to focus only on the golf course?
I think we just focus on the golf course.
Yeah.
If we're gonna invest this kind of money in it, initially, you know, upfront money, then I think, yeah, that should be specific to the golf
Golf
course.
course?
All right, so step one, we'll all make individual inputs to Maurice on what we would want to see in a contract. Then when we meet again, we'll solidify that, and then I guess Gerard, makes sense to me, would be the person who meets, and we see how it goes from there.
Will do.
All right. Next item on the agenda, I'll turn this on, is the Potawatomi Wabunsee Regional Library I think that this was one that Gerard punted because I had written the draft, is that right?
That,
I think
yes,
so.
we wanted, we valued your input on
Yeah,
this,
so,
Maggie, so we really
You
want.
valued it so much. All right, so all I, there are a couple in the packet, there, all the first letters, I think there's a raft, which would be a draft. Anyway, there are 2 letters from Judith. The first of which was actually dated May 2nd, so it's a while. But we don't meet that often. And to the city commission, so, which is why I think we should give her an answer, or at least reply. And she said some things, but the critical paragraph to me, if you're seeing that letter from Judith dated May 2nd, it is, she says, a community advisory committee has been formed to help the library staff better understand concerns that may exist in the community, which is exactly what we asked them to do, frankly, back at the end of last year. And then she named some people who've agreed to serve on the committee, and they are in the process of reaching out to others who have an interest in participating. And then she just wrote a follow-on thing about process. So I drafted a letter that you could see there, I think.
Yes, we got it.
And the purpose of which was simply to acknowledge the letter, thank her, and so forth. But then also to, the critical line there is, I'll just read the second paragraph. As noted during a number of public meetings, we understand the city has no decision-making role in your library and therefore no direct say in how you govern your organization. We do, however, have a profound interest in ensuring our constituents' wishes and beliefs are respected to that end. And in an effort to help you, as you say in, quote, reaching out to others who may have an interest in participating, quote, in your community advisory committee, I would like to recommend your consideration of the following individuals for inclusion. And then this was not meant to be an all-inclusive list, but if these 2 people had said they would be interested, Patrick Murphy, Gregory Modes, and I don't know if there are others. So that was my idea.
I have one other to add
Okay.
to that list, if it would be, Dr. Louis Schwartz.
Okay.
I spoke to him personally, and he said, because he asked, he goes, this isn't like a every week thing, and I said, no, I don't anticipate it to be a
I
weekly
would
thing.
think not.
Richard, what do you think?
Well, I can say, first of all, last Wednesday, at the library board meeting, myself and some other concerned citizens approached the library board to express what we felt is the community's viewpoint on this subject. And we did it in a very, I'd say, simple manner, just making it clear where we stand. And we did ask for a couple of things too, and not, 2 things we asked, that these types of books be removed from this branch of the library, and I think they have the library has for the most part done that. So that is something that, it appears, at least you go to the website, they're not there, and Judith has said a few times, she's taken them out, and so I have no reason, not to believe that. And so another thing we had asked is that the library kind of alter one of their policies, and that is to put in place that no minor can ask that these books be transferred in or check these books out without parental permission. Now that they're not ready to grant at this time, they do say they do have a policy in place where the parents can come in and give them a list of books that, these are books you can't let my children check out, these are, books, media, etc. And it seems, and I've already heard from one of the library board members that's along that line, she is saying, yes, that's redundant, it's a lot more work, but she says that they're afraid of potential lawsuits, things like that, if they say, if they work it in the reverse way, which doesn't make any sense in my mind, because either way, the people have an opportunity to get the book. It's just there's a certain stipulation in place, which is, I think, in my opinion, also, and many others' opinion, what would be the way this community, for the most part, feels about it. And we did thank the library board, by the way, too. Very much thank them for listening, for taking the time to hear us, and for anything that they've already done so far on this subject, and for the work they do. And so that's kind of, in a nutshell, why we went and what we were asking. Now, I know that there are two, I think, I went to one of the advisory board meetings already, as not as, of course, a member of the advisory board, but I was invited to come to one. And so I went. It does seem, it's only in its infancy, so I don't know, what kind of, I guess, if there's any rules, regulations, anything like that in place at all, or not. It sounds like they're gonna meet once a month from what I understand. And I keep looking at you, I know, because I know you're on the board, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
third, the last Thursday of each month, the Thursday following their board meeting.
Okay. Yeah. So but
That's this committee,
That's
Yeah,
Dennis
the advisory
for
Miller.
the
board.
advisory committee.
Dennis Miller.
So, thanks for your engagement on that, Richard. So I guess my simple question is, should we send this letter? It seems like we should answer them.
yeah, I think so. I think it would be prudent because, obviously we should have answered it earlier. We're a little slow on that. But yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, I'll add the line, sorry for the delay, which is how I
because,
start most of my emails, actually.
yeah, it is my way too, I know, but I guess,
I have a question though, on this advisory committee, and, I don't know, how big is it going to be, or is there a potential,
Well,
do you know?
I'm sorry, but
How big is this advisory committee? Do they wanna cap it at a certain level?
well,
Dennis, do you know?
that was my understanding, and there is 6 of us plus Judith right now that meet. But the board president at the meeting that we went to the other night expressed that they are open meetings, anybody can come, so. As long as they participate in an orderly manner like you do here, it's.
Sure.
Okay, so, if you have any other names at Lewis, for example,
You want
I'll
me to
just,
email that to you,
yeah,
or-
you can email them to me
Okay.
individually, if you know of anyone, and I'll ask you to send this as soon as I can. I mean, it's pretty much done. Unless you wanna change anything crazy.
So you said there was a consensus to send it as
Yeah,
an
we have a
or
consensus.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll add.
Okay.
Sorry, by the way.
so we can put the
Diana,
minutes.
You went on vacation, it's not your fault, or I don't know where you
I was doing that. All right, next item, floodplain mitigation project update. I don't think we have anything on that, do we?
We do.
Oh, that's right.
So last November, we'd gotten a quote to finish the design on the structure, and it was quite large. And I'd met, for an unrelated reason, with the FEMA rep that works for the state of Kansas. And during our discussion, she asked if we'd be interested in the technical assistance program that would help get the project so a way that you get it down the road as far as a cost estimate and that sort of stuff and cost benefit stuff. And I said, well, why not? And I never put it on the agenda, and I do apologize for that. I did mention it a couple of times at a meeting briefly. Well, the city did get the funding. They're working on it, but they're going to want to meet with you all before they get too far along in this here. You're not obligated to spend anything. You're not obligated to do anything. But what it would do would it would refine the project cost and define the benefits, and then look at cost sharing opportunities for the project and all that. So at some point, they would want to have a work session. Now, I'm not sure if it'd be the rep I've been working with is someone named Tara Landsrath, and then Joe File was the engineer, and Joe's the one that would be designing it. So we wouldn't have it 100% designed, but you'd have it far enough along that they believe, the state of Kansas believes, that you could get an accurate cost on it.
Okay, which was our goal. It's nice also for them to define the benefits from their perspective, though I think that was kind of the whole purpose of the initial thing.
So
Tap.
the all they would be giving us is, they would pay for,
Technical assistance, getting the project down so that it could then be better evaluated without, spending any more.
so they'll say, we'll do this, and then we can tell you what it's gonna cost?
They are working with Joe File, the engineer, to get a certain more percentage of it designed, and then look at the cost benefits, and then look at future regulations on how it would affect it. What do they call it here? Evaluate the project's flood benefits and resiliency over time.
So this wouldn't cost,
City anything? No.
I mean, it would cost the taxpayers technically,
Correct.
I mean, it always does, but,
I mean, the advantage of this, I think, is
yeah, well,
we've
that-
already spent an awful lot of money just to get initial studies and initial designs to see if we could deal with a potential, the 100-year flood
Yeah.
problem. And so given that we don't have to spend any more of the city's money at this point, but what we don't know exactly is how much it would cost, because it started at some large number and then it became a much larger number.
Yeah.
And so we don't know,
So.
if it's the cost benefit, it's not even possible to do that until we know how much it's actually gonna cost.
Yeah.
But
So.
we know, like, we will come with a cost because, right, that's the understanding, because if we
Ultimately-
only get like 60% of an estimate and then we have to spend more to find out, like, I don't
No.
wanna keep spending money to figure out how
Agreed.
much money we have to then spend. And
I was somewhat perplexed, told that we needed to fully design it before you could get an accurate cost, but yet the state believes that you can get an accurate cost without doing the 100% design, but they have a lot of experience doing this, and that's what's paying off. And so I don't want to take my word for it. They eventually want to, Tara or Joe File or both of them want to have a status update meeting sometime in August, and with the final presentation in October. And
explain to me again who these people are.
so Joe File's an engineer for Benish. He took over from Chestnut.
Well, he's the one who's briefed us on the entire thing up to this point, so he's very familiar with it.
Have I had a briefing, have we been here for?
He showed up for another meeting not directly related with the floodplain, I think.
So the city signed up with Benish because they have expertise in this particular area.
And I'm sorry, but when I say we, I mean Chuck and I.
Okay.
I don't think so,
Yeah, I don't-
I can't remember, it was sort of either at the end of last year.
So the engineer that was originally on this project switched firms,
Okay,
and Joe File, I can get you a photo of him, has taken over. And then, so the state of Kansas has a liaison with FEMA. I believe the person may be a state employee, but the liaison, her name is Tara Landsrath. And,
I don't want photos of her either.
well, I can,
Go ahead, please, I'm sorry.
Aren't you?
here's interesting sidebar. Interesting sidebar is I looked at the the August floodplain conference they're having in southern Kansas. The city's project is one of the discussion presentations that they're putting on down there.
Our
So-
city's project?
Yeah, floodplain mitigation in St. Mary's, Kansas. And Joe Files the one presenting it. So when I seen that, that's before they told us that they're going to do the technical assistance program. I go, I think we might get that, but it's not. So the engineer's number was $400,000, right, or something like that to finish the design. What they're doing here is not $400,000. This is
I just want to be sure that these slides that we have, that include cost estimate, cost benefit analysis.
Yeah.
And the updates, no cost to us for any of that.
no, we don't even process them. They send them directly to Benish. That was to me the best part of it all, is that we don't have to approve it and then get reimbursed. And that's
And
what
then just to follow up on that, so by the end of October, we will know we'll know a percentage of how much it's gonna cost.
Well, they should be able to get us a project estimate, is what I believe this is leading up
Based
to.
on some percent, it's not gonna be.
Not 100% design, no, and see, when I originally spoke with Mrs. Landsrath, that was my impression, because I said it during our phone conference with everyone who was on there, and the engineer had to correct me. He goes, Maurice, this isn't gonna be 100% design, this is gonna be such and such.
But my hope would be that the cost estimate includes the cost to do the design and then the bill.
It very well can.
We just need to know how much money we're gonna need to spend to
Yeah.
get from here to there. Though initially I was hopeful that they were gonna cover that side.
Initially, that's what I thought was gonna happen.
I understand, I'm not opposed to this next section going forward.
Technical assistance
Technical
program.
assistance program. I still, and maybe I need to do more homework on my part. I don't understand why we're pursuing this.
Well, I think the advantage of doing this as well is we'll see, if you look at that first slide, they'll talk about the benefits, evaluate the
Define
yeah,
benefits.
what define the benefits of the program again. So I mean, it doesn't hurt to hear it. So we just have a consensus to let them proceed? Or?
Yeah, so here's what I'm asking at some point is, and it may not be, because we've got the BG Consultants, sewer plant, they want to do a work session that first meeting in August. Then there's another, they want to do the water, maybe different. You may have to consider a Thursday to have this work session with FEMA, and it might be best so that it could be more than an hour. I'm sorry,
Well, you're really
I don't know
dragging
why
me
I
out
jumped
of
on
this.
we're punishing Richard on the way out. No, I just think that it might be in the best interest to have it on a different night than a meeting so that it could be the single focus. But I first will ask them to suggest dates and see what works for y'all. I threw that in there, y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm working on that. And then, well, y'all, I meant you and Chuck.
So, yes.
So you guys go to that meeting, that's what I heard.
Yeah, you guys don't have to show up.
They go to the first 2 hours.
Well, we need one of y'all so we can have a quorum.
Yeah, and so one of the things that had changed in the design was instead of having rock-lined areas, it would be a grass, I can't remember how they called it. And
Vegetated spillway.
it's acceptable to do that. So that would also, that's one way the project was being reduced and potential cost was changing it a little bit.
At any rate, we get this review done
Yes,
for, without spending more money,
yes.
which, well, I was a little surprised. We should really have had a lot more people at this meeting tonight. We had the library and the flood mitigation on the agenda.
It's wonderful weather.
We've got this live stream going on.
Ah, that's it.
Well, anyway, what I'm saying is I will get back on the next meeting with potential dates
All right.
for a work session and see where it goes.
But do we need to say, yes, we want them to pay for this?
Well, you can say if there's no objection, we'll participate in the technical assistance program. If there's no
We're
objection.
doing it anyway, right?
Well, you could stop it. I mean, ultimately, if
Do we need a motion or is that just?
I would just say if there's a consensus.
There's no money, I'm saying. We have consensus.
As long as there's no money, yes.
No money.
Next item on the agenda is draft 2024 budget. And we just finished a work session with the auditor. We made no decisions and took no action. But we got his, if he had any, we asked if he had any specific concerns. I wanted to get his sense of whether or not he thought it was solid, if he agreed with Maurice's assumptions and approach in terms of how he's estimating income from taxes in particular. And we're always trying to keep our eye on the property tax amount, mill levy. And the question is, always comes down to this revenue neutral rate, which I'm increasingly convinced is a very strange approach to budgeting. But in any case, I don't know if we need any, what do you need?
So on, if you're using a spreadsheet, that general fund that I call page 6, that yours will be general or not detailed. That line item that we discussed during the work session was the local sales tax.
Right.
And I told you that I'd increased those from last year's numbers to be a little bit more aggressive. Last year it finished at $464,000. So this is the city sales tax, the 1 cent city sales tax. It finished last year at $464,960. I'm estimating $435 for this year. I believe we're ahead of last year's pace, although that doesn't always work out that way, but it usually does. And then the same amount for next year.
And that 435, that again, I kind of touched on this in the work session a little bit. That does not include if we eliminate the 1% on food, correct? That you're keeping our 1%.
I'm keeping things as they are. I've asked the auditor, and I guess I should ask Representative Avercamp to weigh in on that to give me a clearer picture, but
Well, we're not required to do anything as far as our 1%, from what I gather.
I've heard varying accounts, but that seems to be the dominant one, yes.
Yeah, from what I've read and people I've talked to, is we're not required to eliminate that. Now, I know there's been some very vocal people about eliminating that 1% on the sales tax on food,
Yeah.
but what would that, we
What
don't
would,
know what that would do to this number.
and I was going to follow up with Russell here at the work session on that, but last December he tried to get, and he knows the people in the Department of Revenue. We just couldn't get a response from him on the matter.
So, but like you said, this number leaves that in.
Yeah,
Okay.
the numbers for this year, which is revised up from what we put in the actual budget, and next year's are based off of the actual for 2022 and the whatever the year before that was, and but
So you're asking us if you want,
if it's acceptable, because what I'm going to be bringing back at the next meeting on the 18th is the version that you'll be making final tuning, if there are going to be any, and then 2 days later certifying it to the county as far as the revenue neutral rate part of it. So, if there's no objection, we can leave it. Then also at the very bottom is that county sales tax to transfer in. That's not, that's just based on whatever it took to lower the levy to a certain point. It's the same amount that was in 2022 actual. This year, we didn't need as much for whatever reason, I don't remember, and we're proposing it. So if those numbers, because the rest of those numbers in between are, small potatoes, and don't vary that much anyway.
Yeah.
So that was one thing, and then, let's see.
well, before we go on, what do we get input on? Because that, to me, those are the biggest questions in terms of
Yeah,
how we're projecting.
the most risk.
Yeah,
I don't have any objection to either one. I like the conservative approach, and I think with both estimates, I would.
These are a little less conservative than normal, but I think it's warranted for the circumstances because of the cost going so much. So normally we budget those numbers soft, and then that would come in over that by a fair amount, and that would increase the carryover amount to start next year. It doesn't hide it, doesn't spend it, it just keeps it there, and it shows up in the cash balance in the front of the financials. So,
Any other input?
Okay.
So for those, let's at least go, we'll keep those up.
And there's still more time. The next one would be the special highway fund. I have page 9. I think it's SPH on yours tabs if you have it on the spreadsheet. So if you remember in 2020 when Bob and I put this little memo together last year that said 2022 ended up spending about 9 or 10,000 more than we'd estimated. So that meant this year started at 15,000 as cash instead of 25. And during the work session, we discussed, or I kind of proposed, either increasing the transfer from the countywide sales tax or decreasing the amount of street material that was built. Well, what I did here is so the number on line item 4994, which has 46,000, that was 35,000. And it remains 35,000 in the actual 2023 budget. But to show how this is going to cash flow, if he spends as much money as he claims he's going to have to, at the end of the year, you're going to have to transfer an additional 11,000 to make that work.
What is the page number for the countywide
Page-
sales tax?
I was looking at,
Number 9.
well, that's special highway,
Special.
page 12.
I just want, if we're moving that much more into special highway and we're putting the amount we are into general, what's taking a hit?
Well, what's taking a hit would be the budgeted capital reserve. We usually put money in there as projects come up. So if someone wants to change out the regular lights at the ball diamond and put LEDs, that would be the line item or something like that. So since if you have the countywide sales tax one, that's okay to look at. So this year we have the C-CLIP one. I haven't heard back from the state. I think I said, so you weren't at the last meeting. Francis Aircamp, Representative Aircamp said the next time C-CLIPs are awarded, instead of being $300,000, they're going to be $400,000. And he asked if it would be okay if he asked on behalf of the city to see if they would do it for us this time. So instead of having 600,000, we could get 800,000. He believes that the KDOT is well funded. Don't know the likelihood of it, but that would make a huge difference for us. Now, it's still tax money. It's not whatever, but if you look in the C-CLIP one, I don't have a account number for it, just a C-CLIP. 435,000, but we're gonna know that number soon enough. By the next meeting, we'll have we'll have opened the bids to review, to be presented at the meeting on the 18th, so you can award it. So what's taking a hit? Well, what would be taking a hit potentially would be miscellaneous projects that pop up from time to time, which I think we just need to put a hold on any right now until C-CLIP's done. Because that could get scary, but it may be the opposite. It may be unscary, if that's the right word. Non-scary.
Not as scary.
Yeah. So, but also since we're on that page, the 2022 actual countywide sales tax amount the city got was $508,000. So I increased this year up to $480, and next year up to $480. Now that's a lot more impressive, but it's probably going to be the reality. But I want you to look at that. And
Do you know the year-to-date on that?
it would be on the spreadsheet to the next. Well,
It's on the radar. 262.
and then there's those two that were going to be added to it. I can have that ready.
Yeah.
Plus 90.
Yeah.
350. No, it's the same logic as the city tax,
Yep.
so I think it's reasonable.
Yeah. So
Yeah, great.
so sales taxes, the other funds, the water, sewer, electric. I don't want to make mistakes on there, but if there are mistakes, it wouldn't affect the mill levy and the budget. The one good thing about the budget process that I can think of is that the budget can be amended at any time. As long as you have the cash there, you know, if there was some kind of typo or something popped up that you wanted to do. Because technically, you're never ever supposed to have a negative fund balance, but most cities do until the end of the year, and then they do their adjustments that way, so they do it one time. But, so anyway, just to recap, sales taxes in both of those funds and the amount of money that's being kicked over to the special highway fund were a question. And then what I would do is I would go, because I believe the proposed amount that's in here for the tax is not workable. It needs to be lowered some. One theory was to, why we go through all the funds, all the general funds and reevaluate the expenses for this year and next year. So we do 10% on the health insurance and maybe 9% is enough. I mean, it's going to be a budget number. And, that's another thing. I mean, it doesn't affect the budget right now, but you know how we have an insurance broker for the health, for the whatever. I think they might have those kind of brokers for health insurance, and that might be something that we pursue. You know, we've been solicited over the years, but it's so complicated, and it might be at some point looking into when this pay study gets done. That's maybe something you want to look into.
So you're saying that you'll leave those estimates the same,
Yeah,
but you're gonna try to find a way to drive the
amount of dollars.
like the 575, 861 number, try to get that down.
Get that down. There's going to be some. Hey, what was the amount that the museum insurance went up? Do you remember that?
It went from like a couple hundred to 3,000.
Yeah, it went from like 200 to 300 to 4,000 or 3,000, and you know, that was one of the. It was just caught me odd.
See if they start charging.
Yeah. So anyhow, and this doesn't include any windows for the armory, or it doesn't include any thing like that. But you can reevaluate that special or that countywide sales tax fund at any time. Let's see here.
I would be a little hesitant to, this sounds terrible, find too many places to cut unless you're very confident. You know,
Oh, yeah,
given the
absolutely.
inflationary pressures.
Yeah.
But we have to look at what the rate is. I mean, we'd already talked about, well, in the working session, we talked about, we certainly will exceed the revenue neutral rate because we need more revenue.
So
But
what
we
I
wouldn't really want to exceed the current rate if we could help it.
what I plan to do is go through every line item again, just like I'm starting over, in case there's any mistakes or something like that. And you know, one of the trickier things to do, when we have people switching health insurance plans and getting the number of months right and then projecting it forward, you know, that could, you know, change things. But yeah, I'm not going to go through there just to cut to make it hit a magic number I feel happy about. I just think it's a little heavier. So for the next packet, I will post a draft budget on the website. I have not done that because the numbers are so wild up to this point, and it wouldn't make sense. But one that you're going to contemplate at the next one, I'll post it, and it'll be a draft. Okay.
Any other questions, comments on the budget?
The only comment I have, Maurice, I've had some questions from some people about the budget, you know, citizen input into the budget.
Mhm.
And so they can come to any meeting that we have, any open meeting.
Yep.
And they can comment on the budget, put in their ideas, thoughts and all that, right?
Yeah, there's an official hearing,
Right.
but I will tell you, by the time that hearing rolls around, the budget, you know, unless they have a very compelling case, is done because you can't increase it any. You can change how you spend it, but you can do that at any time during the year. So if you budgeted $100,000 to improve Riverside Park and then decided you wanted to spend $100,000 on Flats Park, you can do that, right? So there's that input that can happen at any time. But as far as formulating the budget, that's not this process here isn't very conducive to it because by the time those hearings, you know, you just have to be at every regular meeting, and you know. But I'm telling you, it's just not the easiest thing to, you know. It'd have to be really big picture, you know. And I think an effective way would also be to solicit you folks directly through emails. Say, why can't we do X, Y? Why can't we do the golf course? Well, you're doing that. And, you know, if that answers your question,
Yes,
I
it
wasn't
does.
spinning my wheels.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, the
All
budget.
right, well, we look forward to your, all set for everyone else. We're at 46.
I'm dragging this
Could
thing
you
out.
review the 25 work sessions you have planned for us over the next month?
Well, so it just seems like there's been a never ending, but then again, you're looking at tremendous issues.
I agree. I'm ribbing you a little bit.
No, I'm not taking it personally. I'm just saying that I'm a little just every meeting. So August 15th, Pat Cox would like a work session to discuss the sewer facility plan. That's what we paid BG, $35,000. We have something going on, up to $35,000 to reevaluate the plant and the requirements down there. We also, on July 18th, will be, I'm not sure a work session is needed for the C-CLIP one. That could just be done during the regular meeting. The bids, the bid opening or the reviewing of them, they'll be opened already.
Did you say you thought we would know yet if the state's willing to up the funding for that?
I mean,
by that meeting?
the second you bang that gavel, I'll be on the email to Representative Avercamp. I'm really curious. I would have never thought to call KDOT and say, hey, could you give us a couple $100,000 for something like that? Then there needs to be at some point a work session on the water project memo, although that could be done during a regular meeting too. I don't think everything has to be tucked away in a work session. It's just how much time and what else is on the agenda. And then of course, something from FEMA or the state, Kansas Department of Agriculture, let's call them that, about that technical assistance program. Because,
Sometime in August,
yeah, according to their handout, and
and if we did another one or not.
When is, so the 8:15, is that?
that's the sewer facility plan.
6:30?
If that's what you want, 6 o'clock. 6:59.
We should give them an hour, don't you think?
Well, what I was gonna say is, I was gonna follow back with Pat Cox and say that they've agreed to August 15th. How much time do you need? And then at the next meeting, have this all typed up.
Yeah, and that may, be something, can they have,
Two of them at the same time,
yeah,
like they did originally? Probably.
can they get it, we don't have to know every single detail, obviously, but, kind of know, okay, so we can make a decision and say, all right, the water pipes that we're seeing, we need to do this right now, and, the sewer.
Lift station, yes.
Maybe we need this one piece, let's get it in place and,
I'll see if Mr. Foster, who's doing the water, could do it the same August 15th at 6 o'clock as Pat Cox and give 30 minutes. Hey, they might like the shorter session. We've already got the spiel and,
Why don't you see how quickly they think they can do?
see how much time they think they need.
That's a regular meeting, right? 15?
Yeah. Yeah.
The first.
So if you're open to those possibilities, and the July 18th one, I think we can do.
We're almost done. Like,
We're almost done.
until the references continue.
Sorry about that, go ahead.
No, that's
I
fine.
think that was good.
We are almost done. I will put together a detailed list, and I would assume they would all start at 6 o'clock. That's all I have on that particular matter.
Any reports?
Bob thought there was a fair amount of tree limb damage in town, and
Not as bad as it could have been, I guess.
not as bad as it could have been.
I had to cut one up. A whole tree.
IES, the company is still working on the reconductoring. I don't think the sewer project has started yet, although it's getting close. That's all I have.
Mr. Mayor,
Richard,
I propose that we adjourn.
I have does anyone want to second that motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, the meeting is adjourned at